Alright guys, let's check it out. Path of Exile, Sentinel, new league. Here's my reaction to it. I haven't seen anything, so I'm excited.
In the wake of your power, something has arisen. Dark Sentinels, hungry for a share. But these cruel constructs can be harnessed.
So I saw there's a number in like the bottom right.
To your will.
Oh, you can just run 3. Okay. So they fight for you?
And tinker,
what the?
combine and reconfigure.
Okay, hold on. We gotta go back and pause first.
And
we'll do that later. I just want to see the gameplay now.
You will find your fortune. Some Sentinels are powerful. Others are dangerous. But in a world with shifting stars, monstrous new threats, and valuable treasures.
Ooh, that's what I want to see.
You will need them. The Sentinels await your command.
Right, so I still don't know too much about, like, from at least that trailer. There's going to be more here, but what exactly do these do? They're probably going to get into it, but I think that they attack, right?
I'm sure you have a lot of questions, so let's get started with a full explanation of the upcoming Sentinel Challenge League. Sentinels are ancient constructs that have been unearthed across Rayclast. In this league, you will collect these Sentinels and attempt to harness their great power. But this symbiosis is not without risks. Once deployed, a Sentinel follows you, watching and waiting for you to enter combat. As you encounter enemies, the Sentinel will fire a beam that doesn't damage the enemy, but rather empowers them. This not only amplifies the difficulty of the foe, but also the rewards that it yields. There are 3 classes of Sentinels that you will find as you kill monsters in this league. Stalker Sentinels will follow you for around 30 seconds, empowering dozens of monsters before they dissipate. This is like a build-your-own breach or delirium effect, because you control what monsters you're fighting when you deploy the Sentinel, and through various means that we'll describe shortly, you're also in control of how much the monsters are empowered. In contrast to Stalker Sentinels, Pandemonium Sentinels are designed for mass area of effect, and typically only fire 1 shot. But this shot really counts, chaining between monsters to affect an entire screen full of foes at once. This class of Sentinel can be very dangerous because it empowers so many enemies at one time. The final class, Apex Sentinels, can only empower rare or unique enemies. They fire fewer shots but have a much larger impact on difficulty and reward.
So I'm wondering, do you get to choose when you pop it?
A Stalker Sentinel. But as you play through the league, you can eventually unlock 2 more Sentinel slots so that you can have 1 Sentinel of each class equipped at a time. Each class of Sentinel can be deployed only once per area that you play. You'll quickly develop various strategies for when each class of Sentinel is best used. For example, saving your Pandemonium Sentinel for when you're surrounded by monsters, or using your Apex Sentinel on the map boss or league content that spawns several rare monsters.
Oh, so I think it shows the reward above their head.
With a full loadout of Sentinels equipped, in every map you'll get to empower bosses of your choice, juice up an entire screen at once with a button press, and choose the part of the map where it's best to empower a series of dozens of monsters.
Okay. So it is a button press. You get to choose when you activate it. That's what I was really wondering.
Sentinels cannot be damaged by monsters in combat, but do gradually deplete their internal power supply each time you use them. They can be found as you play and are incompatible with traditional Rayclastian crafting techniques. However, new Sentinels with different properties can be assembled from the depleted husks of others that you have used until their internal power supplies ran out. We'll explain that crafting process in more detail later on. You can find magic Sentinels that have mods on them. These mods can augment the base properties of a Sentinel, extending its duration, making it empower monsters faster, increasing the number it can empower, or even the degree to which the monsters are empowered, affecting both their difficulty and rewards. Some mods will add specific drops such as currency items, essences, or unique items to monsters empowered by the Sentinel, but at the cost of increasing how difficult the monster is to defeat. You can also occasionally find rare Sentinels that have more than 2 mods on them. These are generally quite a lot more powerful than normal or magic Sentinels if you find the right combination of mods. The Sentinels you find as you explore Rayclast will become more powerful. Some particularly powerful ones with special properties can only come from the process of assembling new Sentinels from depleted ones. While the Sentinels you find generally get
there's
better
a
and better as you
tree.
play through the League, you can also upgrade the behavior and properties of Sentinels through your Sentinel Controller. The Sentinel Controller is like a runic circuit board.
Here, I'll move my
It's what
face.
powers your Sentinels and allows you to customize them. There are specific nodes for each of the 3 types of Sentinel, so you can customize the properties and behavior of all of them, or potentially focus on your favorite base types.
Okay.
As you play through the League and kill more and more enemies affected by your Sentinels, your controller will gain power. You start with 4 units, which is enough to power your first Sentinel slot and your first runic node. By the end game, you are able to work up to 30 power units, which is enough for almost half of the controller to be powered at once. So how do you choose which runic nodes to power? You do this by connecting them together with filaments. Power flows from the top of the circuit through the filaments until it is all in use by the nodes you have connected. You can set up filaments in advance and they'll automatically be used as more power becomes available.
Okay.
Moving filaments around has no cost. It's
Oh,
basically
okay, that's
like
what I
a
wanted to know
planning
too.
tool that gradually gets activated as you gain more power throughout the League. So you're not locked into a specific plan and you can respec for free at any time.
That's awesome.
Some powerful runic nodes require 2 filaments and hence allocate more of your power when activated.
Oh. Okay.
Additional Sentinel slots for other types like Pandemonium and Apex Sentinels, for example, require 3 filaments and hence 3 power units each. While it's almost always best to have all 3 slots powered so you can use all 3 Sentinels per area, there are niche strategies where you want to unpower specific Sentinel slots in order to have more power for additional runic nodes, also that you can fully specialize in just 1 or 2 Sentinel types. Just to reiterate, you can change your allocation as much as you like, so feel free to experiment.
Awesome. I like that idea.
This powerful runic node allows Pandemonium Sentinels to be used an additional time each area. While this is basically pure upside, you should definitely plan around the fact that you'll be running their charge down pretty quickly if you use this node. This runic node prevents your Stalker Sentinels from empowering normal rarity enemies. While this seems very powerful at first because you'll just be empowering magic, rare, or unique enemies that benefit greatly from the boost to item drops, you should be aware that unless you have a large source of special enemies, you'll be fighting against the flight duration of your Sentinels and will probably want to build around increasing their duration. While the Sentinel Controller lets you specialize how the different classes of Sentinels behave, it's generally not necessary to have to modify it for each new Sentinel that you equip. The runic nodes you have chosen represent your overall strategy for each class of Sentinel and rarely need to be tweaked if you swap one Sentinel for another. As you use Sentinels in combat across a number of maps, they eventually run out of charge and will become depleted. But they don't need to be thrown away when this occurs. You can find power cores that let you assemble a new Sentinel with a full charge. This process disassembles 2 existing Sentinels and creates a hybrid of the 2, with their properties combined together. Right-clicking a power core opens up an assembly screen. If you insert 2 Sentinels and click the Assemble button, a new, fully charged one will be created.
Okay. So I wonder if you can trade the Sentinels as well.
This process is a complex and unpredictable one that can either inherit properties from the input Sentinels or potentially produce new ones that weren't based on either of them. For example, the base type of the Sentinel could either be the left input Sentinel, the right input Sentinel, or an entirely new one that can't spawn naturally and can only come from this process.
I wonder when it says character gains tailwind, is that us or is it the
You generally get a mix
enemies?
of modifiers from the 2 input Sentinels, but sometimes they have their tiers upgraded or entirely new mods added, occasionally including ones that are exclusive to the assembly process. The end result is that you're usually getting Sentinels that are similar in function to the depleted ones you have combined, but occasionally mutate in new ways, producing results that unlock more power and possibilities. The best Sentinels in the game will come from lucky combinations of depleted Sentinels that have just the right mods. It's also possible to assemble 2 Sentinels directly into one of the many valuable unique Sentinels.
Oh, okay. I'm assuming it empowers
Specialized
all
power
the
cores exist,
enemies.
which
It doesn't give
influence the
us
assembly process to
any
greatly
benefit.
increase the chances of various interesting outcomes occurring.
Other
They
than
don't guarantee
rewards.
anything, but absolutely worth considering if you're trying to hit unlikely assembly results. You may want to accumulate a small collection of depleted Sentinels so that you have options to assemble together. That's where the Sentinel Locker comes in. It's a free object that you can place in your hideout that allows you to store stacks of each of the Sentinel currency items, as well as a tab full of each of the 3 categories of Sentinel.
Nice. So I felt they were
You can also
large with
store
like
Sentinels
4
in regular stash tabs, and they can be freely traded with other players.
inventory
The
squares.
Sentinel Locker's affinity for Sentinels will also work with regular stash tabs while this league is active. As I hinted at before, you can find or create unique Sentinels. These have powerful static properties, but because they cannot be combined with other Sentinels, there's no way to recharge them once they become depleted. They are essentially limited use items with powerful effects. Let's look at a few examples.
I want to see the uniques.
First off, we
the new
have
ones.
the Basilisk.
Okay, hold
This
on.
is a
My bad. My face is blocking us. So let me move my face out of the way.
Pandemonium Sentinel that augments its wide area of effect blast with a petrification effect. Any monsters caught in the blast are turned to stone. Rather than being primarily useful for raising the risk and reward of combat like other Sentinels, this one is incredibly useful as an emergency button in combat. By activating the Basilisk, you can freeze most of the monsters around you in place, letting you take
probably
control
not
of
Pinnacle
dangerous
bosses.
situations.
But that would be really cool if you could do it on
This
like
unique
bosses.
Sentinel, the Hollow-Eyed Skull, is basically a headhunter in Sentinel form. There are also a set of unique Sentinels that are designed to empower specific named Atlas map bosses. If you activate one of these Sentinels while fighting that boss, it empowers the boss into an extremely dangerous version that is very, very rewarding.
16 currency rewards? Jeez.
The highly
Seems
empowered
pretty
boss
good.
fight is further scaled by whatever mods are on the map that contain it, so you'll want to be pretty careful with what mods you choose to use. On the other hand, its rewards are scaled by reward bonuses on that map, so if you're able to defeat one of these bosses in a juiced map, you will certainly be greatly rewarded. These highly empowered map bosses are the best source of Recombinators, a new type of endgame currency item that can be found in the Sentinel League. Recombinators allow you to apply the Sentinel assembly process to 2 pieces of equipment of the same item class, combining them together in unpredictable ways. This process can also rarely imbue your items with exclusive modifiers that don't normally spawn on that type of item. While the recombination process involves significant risks, you could combine the best parts of 2 rare items together, maybe getting a lucky exclusive mod spawn, and end up with one of the best weapons, armor pieces, or jewelry in Path of Exile. Sentinels can be deployed while engaging in other League content, so you can juice the risk and reward to quite crazy levels. For example, you could enter a Mirror of Delirium, trigger a breach, and deploy your Sentinel at the same time, causing the monsters to have 3 significant modifiers to both their difficulty and rewards.
Okay.
There are only a few specific areas that Sentinels can't be deployed in, mostly for technical reasons, and those are unique maps, Pinnacle Atlas bosses, and
Pinnacle.
Simulacrum.
Okay.
So that's Sentinel in a nutshell. It's a combat league that gives you heaps of control over the exact risk and reward you encounter. It stacks with other combat-enhancing league mechanics, juices your endgame bosses beyond any kind of reasonable difficulty, lets you play with temporary headhunters, and might even let a few players assemble some pretty insane rare items if they're lucky. We're very much looking forward to seeing your stories after you've had a chance to play with it next week.
Awesome. I mean, so far it's looking pretty good. I'm
In
wondering.
addition to the Sentinel Challenge League, this expansion further improves on the new
awesome. That's
endgame
cool too.
introduced in Siege of the Atlas.
But I'm wondering if it's on
Atlas-wide
auto
passive tree
pickup
and
of
Pinnacle
picking
boss
up the
fights.
Sentinels too, because like
The new endgame was designed
I
to
feel like
give
that's
you
really nice.
ultimate control over what kind of content you want to play and how difficult and rewarding you want it to be. With the Sentinel expansion, we are doubling down on what makes this new endgame the best one that Path of Exile has ever had. This expansion introduces 20 powerful Keystone passives to the Atlas tree.
nice.
As you know from the regular passive skill tree, Keystone passives are usually dramatic and build-changing, with both upsides and potential downsides. Each Keystone can completely change the way you play Path of Exile's endgame, and we have designed Keystone passives for many different playstyles and situations. The second big change is that we have introduced these clusters of passives that grant you even more control over what endgame content you encounter. As you know, you can encounter many different types of past league content randomly within maps. These new passives allow you to prevent content you don't enjoy from appearing randomly,
That's
while
good.
simultaneously causing other content to spawn at a higher rate. Aside from the obvious convenience of only encountering the past league mechanics that you choose, the system is great for target farming specific content that you have juiced on your Atlas tree. Thirdly, we have created incredibly difficult and rewarding Uber versions of 7 Pinnacle boss fights, which can be accessed via 6 new Keystone passives. These fights are designed to challenge the absolute best Path of Exile players, and suffice to say, they are brutally difficult. Let's take a look at some of the new Keystones and boss fights. The Singular Focus Keystone makes it significantly more likely that your favored maps will drop. If a map drops that is not one of your favored maps, it will be converted into a random currency item.
That's good too.
This means that you'll exclusively see your favored maps, and outside of that, more currency. This is the realization of the "I only want to play one map" dream that some players have. It also helps players who are over-sustaining maps and would rather just get extra currency items. The Stream of Consciousness keystone prevents you from modifying your maps with fragments or scarabs, but means that when extra content is being rolled for your maps, each of the base chances is 50% higher. This is really useful for
good
players
early
who don't want
game.
to have to think about juicing their maps and would instead prefer to get a constant moderate bonus instead.
Absolutely rushing that one.
The following 2 keystones are for very advanced players who have completed their Atlas trees and want to get a very specific outcome with all of their skill points.
Wait, hold on. It was 100% transfer. What?
Who have completed
100% increased effect of small Atlas passive skills. Okay.
their Atlas trees and want to get a very specific outcome with all of their skill points. The Wandering Path keystone increases the effect of small passives on your Atlas skill tree and disables all notable passives. The Grand Design keystone increases the monster pack size in each of your maps by an amount proportional to the number of notable passives you have allocated. However, the trade-off is that small passives have no effect. These 2 keystones are very good for specializing into maximizing pack size and quantity at the expense of specific league content, which is great for general Magic Find builds or Divination card farmers.
I was just thinking
The
for
Twist
like
of Fate keystone changes the behavior of corrupted
more
rare
kills,
maps in unpredictable
more
ways.
XP early on.
Upon entering a map, you may be sent to an alternative map of the same tier with randomized modifiers. All of the Master Missions, Scarabs, and Kirit crafts applied to the map will also be randomized. This process will not pick an outcome that was already on the map, so it always shifts it to a new property that you didn't have before. This means that you can play all of the Scarabs, Master Missions, and maps that you enjoy, and any leftover ones can be randomized to new outcomes, which are guaranteed to not be the ones you started with. This may have some interesting economic consequences as well, with players feeding bad Scarabs or maps into the Twist of Fate lottery. The Wellspring of Creation and Dance of Destruction keystones change the ratios of monster life and damage in maps on the Atlas so that they are more dangerous and less tanky, or vice versa.
Okay.
These 2 keystones are designed to be remedial, allowing players with an abundance of offense or defense to normalize themselves so that they can handle the content better.
That's a huge amount, to 25%.
If you find yourself in a situation where you're waiting for a weapon upgrade or can't fix your resistances, then you could allocate one of these keystones to temporarily make things easier, before unallocating it later when your build is complete. 6 new keystones create uber versions of Path of Exile's Pinnacle boss fights. Venarius, Cyrus, the Maven, the Searing Exarch, the Eater of Worlds, and the Shaper and Uber Elder, who I guess is now called the Uber Elder? Allocating one of these keystones on your Atlas passive tree ramps up the corresponding boss fights so that it is extremely difficult. Like, really hard. Harder than saying goodbye to Zana hard. Only allocate these keystones if your character is extremely powerful and you know you can handle the challenge. In general, the encounter's rules are modified to be far more punitive and difficult. In return, though, you can earn some very enticing rewards. Each of the Uber fights has an additional high chance reward and a chance of getting a very, very rare chase reward. For example, the Uber Maven guarantees an elevated sextant if you're able to complete the encounter. Very rarely, though, you may be able to earn an awakened exceptional support gem as well, such as Empower, Enlighten, or Enhance. These keystones unlock crazy battles that will challenge our most aspiring players who are deep in Path of Exile's endgame. They add a new level of difficulty for those who want to push their builds even farther than they ever have before. The keystones we have shown you so far are designed around many different types of endgame players. Some glass cannon players struggle with defenses but have no problem with offense. Some players want to just play one map. Some players want the difficulty to be ramped up and to receive rewards commensurate with this added challenge. The keystones also let you identify a specific reward, type of content, or playstyle and know exactly how you can get the most out of it. There are a number of other new keystones that we'll reveal before release. Like the ones we have shown you today, these keystones require you to consider your endgame plan in an entirely new light. We're very interested to see what strategies you will use to try to conquer the new Uber Pinnacle bosses. Before we get into the new unique items, there are a few other endgame Atlas changes that we should cover. We are removing Vinctar's Square and Doryani's Machinarium from the Atlas of Worlds because they are not natural map drops. You can still get and play these maps, of course, but they aren't counted for your overall Atlas completion anymore. Their Atlas passive points have been moved to rewards for defeating the Infinite Hunger and the Black Star.
Okay.
We have rebalanced influence altars and maps. They now feel a lot different than they did in the form they were introduced in Siege of the Atlas. Their downsides now feel more impactful, and they have more diversity of rewards, including new rewards.
I'm looking at that last one, and I'm just like, okay, Fleshcrafter ignores all of
an
that.
ultimatum-like choice about whether you want to accept additional challenge for additional
The minions
reward.
getting like the resistances.
We've added better Atlas tree support for them, including 2 Keystones that can affect them. We've also rebalanced the drop weightings of the new Pinnacle Atlas bosses, changing the relative drop weightings of their unique rewards and making them more likely to drop Eldritch currency.
Okay, that's good.
Currently, in Siege of the Atlas,
those are so good.
Elder and Shaper Scarabs are basically worthless because their influence is worse than the free influence you can get from the Eater of Worlds and the Searing Exarch. In Sentinel, you can now apply multiple types of influence to one map, so you could have Eater of Worlds influence alongside a Shaper or Elder Scarab on a Conqueror map. Together, these 3 influences combined have a very large effect on that map, and this will make Elder and Shaper Scarab significantly more desirable. The start point of encountering Shaper, Elder, or Conqueror influence and influence items has been raised to level 81 areas. We've also fixed an issue that was causing some players to skip playing most of the contents of maps. On the lower half of the Atlas passive tree, there were a lot of small skills that granted a 2% chance for the map boss to drop an additional map. This meant that it was possible to sustain maps by rushing to those bosses and ignoring every other monster in the map. We have retained the overall bonus, but have changed it so the map drops from a random monster within the map rather than the boss. We're also addressing an issue with the way that you acquire Maven boss fight invitations. Currently, it's possible that you get hit with a bad streak of RNG and haven't found an invitation by the time you have enough bosses witnessed. You can now purchase these invitations from Kirak for a moderate price if you need to. At the launch of the Siege of the Atlas expansion, we hosted a competition that saw players racing to be the first to kill Path of Exile's Pinnacle bosses in hardcore solo self-found mode. The main prize for doing so was the ability to collaborate with us on the design of a unique item that would drop from a boss in Path of Exile's endgame. 5 of these uniques have been designed so far and will be featured in this expansion. The 6th one will be released once the winner has time to design it, very likely in 3.19.
Okay.
Call of the Void is a new cold-themed ring that was designed by Lighty and will drop from the Uber Elder. It causes all damage to chill and causes chilled enemies to shatter on death, as though they were frozen. On top of this, chilled enemies deal less damage back to you based on the magnitude of the chill affecting them. The only drawback is that all incoming damage also chills you, but there are many ways to mitigate this, and in some cases it's beneficial to builds that utilize self-chill as part of some crazy combo. This ring is useful for a wide variety of different endgame builds.
It's like
Echoes
chills
of Creation is
reversed.
a new unique helmet,
what
also
that
designed by
unique does.
Lighty, which will drop from the Shaper. It's designed for builds that use Warcries and grants an extra use before cooldown to Warcry skills that are socketed in the helmet. It also grants more damage to exerted attacks based on the number of Warcries affecting them, but causes you to take damage when you use these attacks. The self-damage number looks really scary, but it can be mitigated by various mechanics such as armor, endurance charges, and life recovery. This powerful niche helmet is ideal for characters that try to use as many Warcries as they can. The 3rd Lighty unique being introduced is the Burden of Truth, a unique belt which will drop from Cyrus. Broadly speaking, this belt encourages you to have healthy energy shield and life pulse and helps you to achieve this by granting you additional energy shield based on a percentage of your maximum life value. The belt both lets some portion of chaos damage hit your energy shield, but also causes some non-chaos damage to bypass your energy shield like it was chaos damage. This is often an upside because splitting damage over both life and energy shield lets you recover both simultaneously.
Yeah, for like Templar?
The Supreme Decadence Keystone that this belt grants, which is previously restricted to timeless jewels, causes your life flasks to apply to both your life and energy shield at a reduced rate.
Oh, okay,
Overall,
that's cool.
this belt is extremely powerful for characters who can build to have a decent energy shield pool while also using life flasks appropriately. The 4th new item that we're featuring today was created by Waggle. It's an amulet called the Eternal Struggle, which will drop from either
Okay, hold on, I gotta actually read this. Okay. Actually,
the
let's just
Infinite
play it.
Hunger or the Black Star. The amulet has a pair of Eldritch mods, and the one that is dominant will be based on which of the bosses dropped it. The dominant mod also controls whether the amulet gives a Malignant Madness or Culling Strike bonus. You'll need to work out which of the 2 bosses to farm based on which half of the amulet you want to activate. The final unique we're showcasing today was designed by Steelmage. It's a unique jewel that drops from the Maven. The jewel refers to a random keystone on your passive skill tree and enables you to be able to allocate passives within a radius around that keystone without them being connected to the rest of the tree.
Ooh.
While the keystone itself cannot be allocated, this jewel allows you to jump across great distances on the passive tree in a
What?
very
That
skill
is
point efficient way.
insane. That's kind of content that I like.
In addition to these uniques that have come from the boss kill competition, we have added new unique items to the Uber Pinnacle boss fights that can be accessed through some of the new Keystone passives. These include a different variation of Thread of Hope that can drop from Uber Cyrus, a new unique jewel which can drop from the Uber Shaper, and special Forbidden Flame and Forbidden Flesh jewels which can roll exclusive Ascendancy notable passives that are not available anywhere else in the game.
Okay. That's cool.
You'll notice that our last endgame expansion was just 3 months ago, and we're already extending the endgame even further. This is our plan for every expansion leading up to the release of Path of Exile 2. Rather than having a much bigger annual expansion, we plan to add as many endgame improvements into each quarterly expansion as we can, alongside its new Challenge League, so that there are new challenges to overcome every time you come back to Path of Exile.
One of the subtle but important aspects of our plan is to keep adding powerful new chase rewards to Path of Exile's endgame, so that there are always new reasons to complete aspirational content. The boss kill competitions are great because they not only create these rewards, but also immortalize the achievements of some of Path of Exile's best players. We're going to run another boss kill competition at the launch of Sentinel. This time, players will have to defeat the Uber versions of boss fights that are unlocked by the special Keystone passives. We'll post full information in the lead up to release.
That looks wild. I can't wait to try to defeat that.
We're going to try something new with character balance in this expansion. We're intentionally making no changes to character power. That means no nerfs, no buffs, nothing. Every single build and
Skelly
build guide made
mages.
for Siege of the Atlas will work exactly the same in Sentinel. You can start planning your league starter right now with full confidence about exactly how it's going to play. However, build exploration is still required in 3.18.
Do we get new
Sentinel
skills?
introduces many difficult challenges, both in the Challenge League itself and in the endgame content. And you're going to have to work out a plan to create characters that are able to handle this content. But at this release, you can hit the ground running, knowing with confidence which builds are a good starting point for you. We don't intend to do this character balance freeze every release. For example, 3.19 definitely contains planned changes to character balance. Even though there are no character balance changes in 3.18 though, we have still made some changes to actual game content. For example, let's talk about the changes to monster modifiers.
Magic and rare monsters in Path of Exile get a lot of their power from their modifiers. We came up with the majority of the monster mods over a decade ago, and only substantially added to them with the introduction of the Nemesis and Bloodlines leagues in 2013 and 2014. These mods are unfortunately showing their age. Many of them are unimpactful, and it's quite hard to quickly read their descriptions in the heat of combat. What we need is a new set of mods that are highly impactful in combat, keyworded with 1 to 2 colored words that are easy to read at a glance, and capable of producing dangerous combinations. This is exactly what we designed the Arch Nemesis mods to be, a replacement for the core monster mod pool.
Oh, okay.
From 3.18 onwards, all previous monster mods have been replaced by Arch Nemesis mods. No other part of the Arch Nemesis League has been retained, so there's no more inventory or recipe management.
Yeah, I think that's
Magic
a good
monsters
change.
have 1 Arch Nemesis mod shared across their pack, and rare monsters typically have 2 mods. However, it's possible to encounter rare monsters with 3 or even 4 Arch Nemesis mods on them. Combinations of multiple synergistic mods can create quite interesting situations in combat. For example, if you encounter a monster with both Storm Strider and Ice Prison, the Ice Prison may block you off so that you are more likely to run into the Lightning Mirages from the Storm Strider mod.
Okay.
We've done a balanced pass over the Arch Nemesis mods before making them core. Some have certainly had their power reduced, particularly when applied to magic monsters. We have also changed how monster experience and drops are calculated, so it's now far more about the difficulty of the mods than about the proportional size of the monster. Various Nemesis and Bloodlines modifiers that were not represented in the Arch Nemesis mod pool have been added in different ways.
Path of Exile's challenge system has remained the same for the last 21 leagues. For Sentinel, we had a look at whether there were any easy ways we could update it based on what we have learned over the last 6 years. Our plan is to retain the model of 40 challenges with rewards that unlock as you progress through them, but with a goal of providing substantially more challenge to endgame players, and substantially more rewards to go with it, of course. In order to achieve this, we've crunched down the easier challenges so that the first reward unlocks after only 6 and the second at 12. These are equivalent in difficulty to 12 and 24 challenges from the old system, respectively. This change gives us a lot more space to ramp up to some incredibly difficult challenges towards the end. which will take a lot of time and skill to complete. There are now 10 different rewards you can unlock, which comprise 2 complete armor sets, each with a pair of wings. But be warned, the challenges you must complete are much, much harder than any that we have ever set you before.
It's a cool helmet. I like that.
We've been experimenting with support for game controllers on the PC version of Path of Exile. During the Arch-Nemesis League, we began a beta for controller support and have been making improvements based on your suggestions and feedback. We're pleased to announce that controller support on PC will officially launch alongside the Sentinel expansion.
Okay.
This also means that Path of Exile is now fully playable on the Steam Deck for those of you who are lucky enough to have one so far. Alongside finishing controller support for PC, we've also done a push on various small quality of life features in this expansion, which we'll reveal over the coming days.
Oh, I hope we get a
An
trade
example is that you can
improvement.
now choose whether your hideout portals can be accessed by one of 4 options: everyone, your friends, your guild members, or no one.
Okay, well, that's good.
We have also improved how favored maps are selected on the Atlas. Rather than having to click on the map on the Atlas for every slot, you can instead click on your existing
okay.
favored maps to quickly copy it to the new slot.
That's not
This
a big
makes it a
deal.
lot faster to favor many instances of the same map at once. There are plenty more small QOL features crammed into Sentinel, and we'll cover these over the week leading up to release. Early in the Arch-Nemesis League, we debuted Kyris Vault Pass. Purchasing this pass grants you access to Kyris Vault, where you can claim exclusive unique item skins as you complete map bonus objectives in the Atlas endgame. The Vault Pass for the Arch-Nemesis League is only available for a few more days and will leave the store forever when this league ends. There's no penalty for purchasing the pass late in the league after you've wrapped up your map completion. So if you are pleased with where you got to in Arch-Nemesis and want to lock in your unique skins, it's not too late to buy your pass now. Thank you to everyone who unlocked Kyris Vault. We had a lot of fun putting it together and trying to think of fun ways that unique item skins can interact with gameplay in a visual way. The purchases directly fund development of both Path of Exile 1 and 2. A brand new Vault Pass will launch alongside the Sentinel League. Like the previous one, there are 8 exclusive unique item skins that can be unlocked as you complete map bonus objectives. We'll post full details on these new rewards closer to launch. To buy either the Arch-Nemesis Pass now, before it leaves the store forever, or the Sentinel one when the expansion launches, go to pathofexile.com/vault.
Okay.
Alongside today's livestream, we're launching 2 new series of supporter packs, the Arcanist and Reaper packs. Each tier contains the pack's full face value in points, plus several exclusive microtransactions. These packs are only available during the Sentinel League and will leave the store forever in 3 months. Every microtransaction you're about to see is entirely cosmetic and does not affect your character's progression or power. The Arcanist pack series contains 7 exclusive microtransactions. The Cloak of Elements indicates the power of your fire, cold, and lightning resistances on your back. When a resistance is capped, the effect is extra strong.
Okay, that's kind of cool. It changes based off
While
of your
wearing the
res.
Ring of the Black Star, your level up effect looks like this.
Okay.
In the Timekeeper's hideout,
It's a lot of
you can use
visual
the
clutter,
chronosphere
though.
to change the time of day from dawn to noon to dusk to night.
That's awesome. It's a really cool looking hideout too.
With Chevron's tome on your belt, identifying items will cause exploding books to appear nearby.
It's people just going down to just
The
trolling
Mage
with
Blue
that.
map device blossoms with greater intensity as you open higher tier maps.
Ooh, really cool looking.
With the soul-stunning weapon effect attached to your weapon, any attacks that stun will cause your enemies to have an out-of-body experience.
That's actually kind of helpful though, knowing like when you've actually procced a
Drinking from
stun.
a searing quicksilver flask causes an explosion and sets your character on fire.
Okay. That's another like good decision
The
too.
Reaper Pack series also has 7 exclusive cosmetic
'Cause
microtransactions.
it lets you see when you have your thing
The
active.
Soul
'Cause
Harvester's cloak's
usually you
power
have
is
too many
based on the
buffs,
number
right?
of enemies your character has killed. With the Belt of the Hive Queen equipped, flasks you use will cause blood-sucking insects to appear all over your character. The Ghostlit Graveyard is a hideout where you can control the color of its torches. It also comes with 6 exclusive hideout decorations.
okay, so we have some RGB lights.
Medidrone will follow you around and use a healing beam on you whenever you're gaining life.
Oh, whenever
Thanks,
you gain
Medidrone.
life. I was just like, what? You get a healing drone? Oh, it's
The
just like
Underworld
cosmetic.
portal opens a gateway to hell. Its effect upgrades in Part 2 and again in maps, where it indicates what tier of map you're playing.
That's a really cool looking one. That's something I might be interested in getting.
While wearing the Ring of the Exorcist, any spells you cast will exorcise the ghosts of your enemies if you crit. While using the Grim Reaper apparition, the Reaper will appear and cull any unique or rare enemies you slay. As I mentioned before, these packs are exclusive to the Sentinel League and will leave the store in 3 months. They're available right now at pathofexile.com/purchase, and they directly fund the ongoing development of Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile 1 expansions like Sentinel. We greatly appreciate your support.
I like the crit one and the one where you stun. Like there's
Thanks for joining us and
visuals.
checking out today's reveals.
This-
We can't
okay.
wait to see you in
So
Rayclass
I guess
on May
this
13th.
pretty much
We'll begin the Q&A
goes
in a
over
few
it.
moments, so please.
All right. So
A
I'm just
Sentinel
gonna
follows you.
play in the background just for a second. We'll have some music in the background. I'll give you guys my thoughts so far on this. So overall, I want to see like how easy it is to basically get these Sentinels and just pop them, because I just want to pop things and just go. I'm hoping Ultimatum will make a return. That was actually one of my favorite leagues. But in terms of what I'm playing, I think I actually might be doing a Scaly Mage build. I'm curious to know what you guys plan to play. Since nothing is nerfed, like, whatever you played last league, if you liked that, that was good. Like, last league, we played basically 3 builds. We did a build where we're running the Goal. It was a Goal Flicker Strike, and then I also played Arc. Arc was really fun as well, because one of like the Searing or X-Arch modifiers on the gloves, you can make it so like when you shock an enemy, it spreads, and then you can put impulses, and you get these nice juicy explosions. Really, really fun stuff indeed. But I think for a beginner guide, because I like to make some videos on beginner guides, I'm probably interested in doing Skelly Mage, like fully this time, because I know last time I did like the first like part 1, then I was like, go back and watch another like older video if you guys want to watch it, because it's basically the same. But with all of the new like different notables, I think that it'll be fun. We'll probably do a full playthrough like I normally do with most leagues. And in terms of like the new bosses, yeah, you're able to fight like Uber versions of the bosses, but I'm probably going to at least complete the campaign because I love Path of Exile so much. I like to check it out every single time for just the league mechanic alone. But in terms of like min-maxing this league, I'll see what the map modifiers can do, if there's really some chase unique item to have. I know that I checked out Reddit before and they were like, I guess Mageblood is going to have div cards now. But I want to see how good these rewards are and how fun the league mechanic is, because if I have to pick these up and then modify them and actually read the stuff, I just kind of like to zoom and go versus like picking these things up. And in terms of like the crafting system, they mentioned that you can combine like 2 pieces of armor and it like uses both of them. I don't know how it overwrites the other, like the prefix, suffix. I don't know how it overwrites those. That will be something to take into consideration as well. Maybe you can annul just how one have no prefixes, one have no suffixes, and you can try to get certain things to roll on it. I don't know if that's going to be something that you can do or how it's exactly going to work, but nonetheless, I don't know how excited I am for the end game, other than like, you know, because I've already completed all, was it 117 last league? We did all of the extra like Atlas bonuses for last league, and I enjoyed last league, but I didn't really like the league mechanic. I just enjoyed like the, you know, new Atlas changes, and I think that that was like the thing that I was most excited about. But looking again at some of these modifiers, extra currency reward, I mean, it's just more stuff, right? Versus like, again, I like Ultimatum because like you would have this risk and reward. It made it exciting every single time because you would lose out on something, and I actually kind of think that that's fun. I mean, yeah, we could play hardcore and risk our entire character, and then it makes everything exciting, right? Okay, so this is what I was wondering too. So, you know, it says like, I understand that it's going to chain, like when it hits the enemies, it's going to modify them more for whatever. And this is like the reward, right? So like this is the reward. It says character gains Tailwind for 10 seconds on deployment. So does that mean that like the little orb gets it, or does it mean like I get this? Because I'm kind of curious on that. And I'm, again, more so interested to see all the other different like tree modifiers that we have for like the little like Sentinel tree. So yeah, I'm still iffy on like if I'm gonna spend like you know, several hundred hours, or if it's, for me, it's more so let's get to maps and let's kind of see if there's anything new for new uniques to actually keep me grinding, because otherwise I'm probably just going to end up playing the same thing I played last league that I played the most, which was Skelly Mage, because it was very powerful. But anyways, that's my thoughts on League. You guys can let me know yours down below. But I always look forward to seeing like new uniques and new gems, and I did not see any new unique that I'm like, oh my gosh, I want to make a build off of specifically this. Or there was a new gem, because anytime there's new gems, I try out every single new gem every league, because that's the new content, right? And if there's no like new bosses to try to fight, I know we can fight Uber versions of it, but I mean, maybe we'll test that out too. But like for the most part, like I like to see a completely new boss. But that's my thoughts. Let me know yours down below. Thanks for tuning in. If you enjoyed the video, drop a like on it. And if you're new here and do want to see more Path of Exile content in the future, hit subscribe, turn that bell, and you'll definitely see, like, I'll probably do a full playthrough. And if there's anything really cool, like a new boss, like if we decide to fight the new Uber bosses for our next league, I'll give you guys gameplay. But take care. I'll see you guys in the next league, and I'm out. Peace.